Housing for the homeless, because my little brother, in which we're doing this documentary for, Douglas Robinson, your death will not be in vain.
He was a heck of a great dude.
And I love Doug. Doug loved me.
Just being around him, he had a good spirit. He was a healing person.
They are there.
Get SROs back.
When you give to the poor,
should not be forced out of their neighborhoods when it goes through a period of transformation.
Because there are too many people who are losing their homes to taxes because they can't pay a $1,000 tax bill.
But there's a long tradition of these types of voices of conscience. So I just immersed myself in the world of St. Sabina and spent time with Father Mike and his peacekeepers and the community there, and tried to learn as much as I could.
We love you on Windy City Live. Yes, we do. Tell us, how did all this happen? How did this come about?
Well, I play me. I play Val Warner in Chirac, which is really cool. So when people see this movie, they are literally seeing Val, and I am a reporter in the movie.
We talk about the violence, but what can we do personally?
I think we got to be engaged, and I think engaged in a number of things. In our block, in our home, in our neighborhood, we got to be engaged. We got to fight the issues. We got to fight a government that is abandoned, you know, whole communities on the south and the west side. We got to fight a governor who's cut out every youth employment program, who's cut out violence prevention programs, who's abandoned our communities and the poor and the vulnerable. And I think we got to reach out to our brothers on the street and love them and respect them and help them, not just demonize them.
My participation is only because of Mr. Spike Lee, our leader, our director, and he reached out to me and blessed me with the opportunity to be in this film and said that his mission was to save lives in the south side of Chicago.
I'll just say like this. First of all, give you the history of coming to Chicago and telling my jokes as a young cat. I'm 37 now. I started about almost 15 years ago. Elroy taking me under his wing, let me do some jokes here and there for the radio stations and all that kind of stuff.
We are more than that. We are more than that. We're greater than that. And I feel like in places like this, or Chicago, or whatever you want to call it, the hood, whatever you want to call it, like, it's too much attention dwelled on the negative.
I learned that no matter what you do and how much of a genuine heart you have, and if you're coming from a good place, people are going to criticize if they don't agree with what you're doing.
Hi, we're from Empire, and you're watching the Higher Learning Network.
So how long have you been standing here?
Not too long, like an hour. So we're moving in fast. This is a good sign.
Yo, what's up? It's your man Tony Schofield from 106.3 Chicago's R&B, and you are watching Men on Higher Learning. Now, I used to hang around with some men that was into some higher learning. It just wasn't that kind of higher learning, but I got myself together now, okay?
What is it that you do in your quiet time, in your meditation time, that allows you to bring us the films that you do?
I sit courtside in Madison Square Garden, world's most famous arena.
And you're watching CTV on the Higher Learning Network. Yeah, bye.
Did you see a change in her when she was using drugs? Did you see that same change in yourself, or did you see, because you said when you were sliding down the wall, you said the voice told you are just like your mama.
Right, because at that time, when I saw her shoot drugs, she had OD. So seeing her go into the nod, and then boom, hit the floor, right? And I'm screaming, I'm calling for my brothers and my sisters to come help, because now I'm thinking that she's dead. And so they came, and my brother and them had saw this before. I had never saw this.
Okay.
So they had been trained to put the cold water on her, you know, to try to slap her around.
Okay.
And I'm the oldest, but they were seeing things that I didn't see.
Okay.
So when I began to slide down the wall, I just knew that it was going to be a boom.
Okay.
And that I would come back to life.
Okay.
The same way she did. And so I kind of started to look at, oh, okay, all right. This is how she do it.
Okay.
You know, so I just kind of began to think that that was a normal thing that was supposed to happen.
Okay. Now as you begin to grow older, and you were mimicking your mother's behavior, and you said that you saw her, for lack of a better word, transform from a woman to a man. So you followed in those footsteps as well.
Yes.
How did that begin?
When I began to see her transform, because when we came back from North Dakota, so the stage was already set, that she was already looking like this, and we were only gone for 2 weeks. And I want to say, and she probably could better answer it, but she started to connect with the people that was in that particular lifestyle, right? And she began to dress like this, and then she telling me to go up on California, pick up my money from this particular person, pick up my money from that particular person. I didn't know exactly what that was entailing. I just would go on California Madison to Eddie's Club, pick up the money, you know, look for this person, and they would automatically give me the money.
Okay.
And as I began to see this, I'm like, man, these women looking like prostitutes. These women looking like they, you know, because the environment, my environment, you just knew that certain things, what this was. And I'm like, so she looking like a man, this one looking like a prostitute. And I started to connect the dots, right? I said, okay, so I want to see how she doing this. So anybody that knew about like the Rockamos and the different things like that, we would run up, we had a little trailer shop, and we would go and hang up on Madison, by Madison and Campbell and Washtenaw, and we would see the women out there in the red wigs, the blonde wigs, the long boots. We would see the women being, drugged down the street. We would be hiding behind a little trailer stop, and we watching this, right? So I'm like, now this is the same thing that my mother doing, because when they didn't give her the money, or I would go pick the money up and bring it home and it wasn't right, then they come, she beating them.
Oh, Mama was balling back in the day. Mama was a female Mac. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but you know, I'm old school too, and I grew up. Was this the 70s? Late 60s, 70s, 80s?
70s,
70s, yeah. Okay. Wow.
60s and 70s.
Yeah.
So you're seeing the representation of male and female, and the genders at some point they crossed.
Right. And
What happened?
Right, and I'm watching this, so I'm like, okay, I'm a drug addict. I'm walking in her shoes as a drug addict, right? So she had all the clothes already.
Mm-hmm.
Now I was dressed in tomboys because I used to put on my grandfather boots and shirt, but you know, that's you just playing.
Right.
So I started to see her. I'm like, oh, she got her stacks on, she got her brim on, you know. And I go in and I would try on her clothes, and they would be big. I would take the pants and wrap the belt and try to pull the belts and put on the little jacket. I'm like, I'm getting ready to do this because her friends were already telling me, oh, you're going to be a dyke. Oh, you're going to be my little stud. Oh, you're going to be my... So they were already...
claiming you.
It was already being claimed. It was already being put in me, right? And it seemed like I had the fastest lifestyle. I mean, becoming a drug addict, and between, 12, 13, I get turned out by one of the women that was like 8 years older than I was. She was whining and dining me and giving me little things and giving me money, and which was supposed to be her money, but I'm collecting her money, her women liking me. I'm like, I didn't know what to do. I'm just kind of like finding this to be fun, right?
Okay.
I'm like, oh, okay.
So you 12 and this lady's 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
And see, the strange thing though, my mother had started staying away from home. As I told you, she had the women that was living there, like this one is the mother of us, this one is the prostitute. So she got these women living in the house, but she was gone. So it was making it be available for the women to start to come after me.
Okay. So did you like officially, they have these coming out parties and events now. So did you like officially come out, or it just like was a gradual thing?
No, it wasn't a coming out. It was, how can I say, it's like taking a dial, you dressing this dial and you just moving this dial through the stages, moving this dial through the stages, and that's what's happening. I was coming through the drugs. Now I'm in an environment that has been changed over, right? And so the clothes is available, the money is available, the drugs is available. So it's like the shoes have been set and I'm stepping in the shoes, right? Following into her footstep. And I want to say that year later that my mother came into one of her friend's house and I was sitting in the bathroom with a needle in my arm. And my mother wanted to just kill everyone that was in the house. Because it's like, who stuck this needle in my thumb? And she can kind of like answer to her feelings to seeing that.
How did that make you feel, Miss Annie?
Well, I mean, as a parent, and by me starting young with having children, and like she said, we all growed up as like sisters and brothers. But knowing that was my child and you was my friend or whatever, and the way you misusing my child, I didn't agree with it. So, it put a killing spirit in me. But, like I said, you be confused as a child growing up. And to look at it, you doing this to mine, and I'm out here doing it to someone else's. And, I mean, the way you look at it, how can I want to kill you when I'm doing it to someone else? But I wasn't thinking that way. I'm thinking now, this is mine, so, don't mess with it.
Okay.
I'd kill up the whole house.
All right.
How we began to truly hang. And at this time, my mother had been involved in it way much longer than I had, right? And so she had started to how can I say, digress, if I want to, I'll use that word. And she began to start to go down. And so now I'm stealing from my grandmother because I want to hang with her, you know, because after she found that out, you know, her thing was for me not to be doing this, but it was too late. I'm like, you the one introduced this to me, right? And she would try to send me to school, try to get me involved in school, but that was gone. That was lost.
Out the door.
And so in order for me to hang with her, I saw that she loved money. So I would steal from my grandmother and I come back. I got some money. Do you want some money? Where you getting this money from? Don't worry about it. And I didn't know the value of money, so I gave her a $100 bill, and she gave me a $10 bill. Tricked me, right? And so she would come back. Hey, can you get any more of that money? Yeah, if I can hang with you, I could get some more of that money.
Okay.
I would never tell her because I was my grandmother's favorite child, so I knew where to go get the money from. But I would never tell her, just if you let me hang with you, I'll give you some of that money.
Okay. So you started hanging with her.
Yes.
And being in the same circle that she's in with this array of characters who are male, female, intertwined. At what point did you recognize that you had transformed to the male? When did that occur?
And if I can kind of bag up for a moment, of a portion of the introduction was before I got turned out by this female, right? My mother would have orgies in the household, right? She would have all these weekend parties, all these orgies in the household every weekend. Friday, Saturday, they would just bring the party there, wake us up having all this loud noise going. So I started to plot again in my mind. Okay, the next Friday they come, I'm gonna be banging on this door, because she would put a bucket in the room and tell us that use the bucket, use the washroom here, don't come out, right? And I said, the next time they come, I'm gonna be banging on the door. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, I got to do number 2. And she would tell me to, go use the washroom, go back in the room. But I waited a minute and I came and she was standing up by this wall and I snuck behind her. And I'm standing behind her and I'm watching this man in the living room with these women. And anybody that wanted to be new to they club, it had to be an initiation, right? And the man would get to have sex with all the women in the room.
All the women?
The women in the room, and she can answer that one.
All the women? And why all the women? Why not just one or two? Why all of them?
Well, basically, it was like a few of them that was there, because the rest of them was already engaged in
Okay.
it. So anything that new came in,
okay,
then they had to go through the whole house.
Okay, wow.
So during that time, by them being in the room, this one got out to be nosy.
Okay, okay.
And that's where she left it off at.
Okay.
And so I'm standing behind, and so the man had the lady, she was laying down on the floor, and he was performing his act on her, right? And the lady was crying, and I'm behind my mother, and her eyes and my eyes locked with one another.
The lady on the floor?
Yes. And I could see this look today, and she had this look in her eyes like, help me, help me. And all I did, I began to have a flashback. I grabbed my mother. What's wrong with her? What's wrong with her? And my mother just simply turned, oh, she just done lost her virginity. Like it was no big thing, right? And in my mind, I correlated that with what was happening from my grandfather and my uncle. And I stated I would never have nothing to do with men. Men hurt, men dogs.
Oh.
That was the turning point of me being introduced into that lifestyle.
Okay, so that's when you went from being Denise to, as the book said, and the play said, to DJ.
Yes.
So tell us about
fast forwarded, learning how to dress like my mother. It was, I mean, the stage was already set, so no one really had to teach me how to do that because she taught me very well. You know, I began to put on her, you know, her clothes, and just to say this, we used to go and wash clothes, and the neighbors used to say, "I thought you all didn't have a father in the house." Right? But because we were washing, she had men drawers, men t-shirts, men socks, men clothes. So it was nothing for me to be able to start putting on her clothes because they was made available, right? And so I just started to just put on everything. I started to mimic her. I started to writing little letters to girls, asking them, you know, if we can get together, and do you love me? Do you like me? Just started to do all the little things to move up to that point. But it came a day that I was at the Eddie's Club and there was a prostitute down there, and I'm trying to do like my mother, and I'm like standing in the mirror and I'm watching her. She had a little tall boots on, long wig on, and I tell her, I say, send her a drink over there on me. Cause I'm mimicking everything that I see my mother do.
Brother balling, okay.
Right, I'm mimicking everything. Send her a drink over there on me.
Okay.
And she came to me, she says, listen, either you gonna be in this game or you gonna take your little young self somewhere and go to school. And I'm like, listen, I'm down in the game. I'm in the game, like that, right? But she had another stud that was there on the set, but she just was coming to put me in check.
Okay.
And I said, oh, wow, what I'm gonna do now? You know, this is what I'm thinking. But however, as time, women who were older, who were in the game, right? That was helping to develop me. And I met this one stud, and she named me DJ. And she was like, listen, what's your name? I said, Denise Jones. No, your name is DJ. And it took off from there. And I started to say, I have to be like my mother. I can't be a wimp. I got to have some backbone. You know, I got to start teaching them how to go on the stroll. I had to start bringing them, you know, I just started to do everything that she started to do. And it's just so funny that it was never a stop between my mother and I. She never said, Denise, don't do this. She never said, this is not the way that you do this. It was like that. This had became the norm between us. One of the girl that got turned out, that we locked eyes, was the girl that began to work the street for me. That was the first girl that began to work the street for me.
So you was a junior baller. You had a girl. You had a girl on the street too.
You know.
Excuse me. You weren't a baller. You were a ballette.
Right. I want to be ballette, right? Trying to mimic behind my mother. And
wow.
So the young lady that I had and my mother's lady, so she teaching her the game in the street. So they kind of, you know, she's bouncing off of her. And it was just ridiculous when you look back at the lifestyle that we had. And you asked the question, how did I get there? And I got there because I followed in the footsteps of my mother. You know, I lived as a man for over 17 years.
17 years.
17 years.
Wow. So what was it like living in a man's body? So there was no pretty coiffed hair, and there was no pearls and earrings, and it was just...
No, that was completely gone. I mean, I took on and I want to say, from a spiritual point, when you talk about demon powers, right? Demon powers had taken over my life to the point that I completely felt as though I was a male. I mean, the entire characteristics, the dressing, the looking, all the mechanical pieces. I had the mechanical pieces.
Okay, now for those our viewers who can't see her a full body shot, Denise is voluptuous. She has a full figure. So my question to you is, how did you cover all of this up?
So you drop them and you use an ace bandage. So
you don't put a bra on.
That's right.
And you use an ace bandage. Isn't that uncomfortable? Bras are uncomfortable. So how?
I mean, but the more you wear, the more comfortable it becomes.
Okay. Wow. So in assuming the position or the characteristics of a man, at what point did you say, because see, this is what I don't understand about the gay community or LGBT or transgender community. What is going on in your head for you to say, I want to be someone other than what I was born as? I don't understand it, and I'm not judging. I am not trying to stereotype. I'm just trying to understand it, and I'm sure there are some of our viewers who may have the same questions or ideas in their head. How does that transpire? How does that happen? I don't understand it. So can you explain it?
Is Monday morning a struggle to get out of bed, into the swing of things? Well, don't worry, you are not alone. Join us for thought-provoking, stimulating, and mindful conversations on higher learning with Zelda Speaks for your Monday morning mindfulness session on Blog Talk Radio, The Female Solution, Mondays, 7:30 until 9 a.m. Be sure and send your ideas, thoughts, comments, and suggestions. Experience mindfulness moments with the Mindfulness/Stress Relief Coach, Zelda Speaks. And thanks for sharing the Mindfulness Moment tip of the day. Stay on purpose, stay empowered, and stay tuned to your next session of Mindfulness on Higher Learning with Zelda Speaks. Make it a mindful day. And thanks for listening.
Hi, my name is Julie Myrista. I'm with the American Heart Association, and we have been up to our ears in sweetened beverage tax, so I so much appreciated the 5-minute meditation today that allowed me to get back to my center, take a few deep breaths, and really focus on what's important.